This video is sponsored by Cloudbounce. More about them later. Hey boys and girls, thanks for watching. I'm Espen Kraft, and today we're going to take a look at my first way into multi-track recording. This is a portable studio, a Portastudio, a 4-track tape recorder. And this Portastudio in particular, this Tascam 424, was actually donated to me by one of my Patreon supporters. So thanks, Jack. And I'm going to use this today to build up a track from the beginning all through to the end. And everything you're hearing today is gone through this multi-track recorder only. There's no processing in the DAW. I've only used the DAW to record the output of this Portastudio. So I'm going to use the Tascam 424 4-track Portastudio from the early 90s. But you do get Portastudios with 8 tracks as well. And even if all the different brands of Portastudios has its own sets of quirks and features, the workflow is pretty much the same no matter what Portastudio you use. So that's what I'm going to show you here. And of course, the recording medium is a cassette, a tape. And I just love the sound of ripping open a new tape. So this is a C90, 90 minutes of recording time, but we're not going to use all of that here because I'm going to run the tape recorder at a double speed. So let's insert that cassette, that tape, and we're pretty much ready to go. So we have 4 tracks we can record on the tape. We have a noise reduction system called DBX, and we also have a sync feature that lets us sync up a sequencer. I'll show you that in part 2 of this series. We can run the tape at double speed if we want to, and we want that because that will give us a better sound quality of our recordings. The transport section on this Portastudio is electronic. On an older Portastudio, this will be mechanical. 4 faders controlling level, we have a master fader, we have pans, and we have 1 auxiliary send per channel. We have a 2-band EQ, and we have the routing options on top and the input jacks for channel 1 through 4, and we have 2 stereo inputs, line 5, 6, and 7 and 8. So what I'm going to do here is to build up a track using the track input 1, track input 2, 3, 4, etc. and bounce this down to a complete song at the end. And so on channel 1, track 1, I've set up the Isla 2400 that will provide some drums for us. So I've made a couple of patterns and I've tied these together to a song in song mode on the 2400 here. And that's going to provide the backbeat of our complete song. On channel 2, I've set up the Juno 106, and that's going to provide a synth part, a kind of arpeggio part, although I've played this manually and sequenced it into the Alesis MMT8. So that's going to go into channel 2 and provide the synth background, or some synth background for the track. So now I'm enabling track 1 and 2 on the tape, so I'm going to record track 1 and 2 out of the 4 tracks I have available. But before I start any recording, I'm going to check the levels, etc. So I'm going to start up the drum machine and the synth sequence to check that the levels are okay. So I'll just start the sequencer that will drive the drum machine through external MIDI sync and play that synth part. I must apologize for the hum noise here. I must have had a rogue connector or something. I didn't realize this until later. So the levels are okay, so I'm now ready to record these 2 tracks, 1 and 2. So I'll set that fader to direct recording, you can see the red light, the LED. And I'll set the other 2 tracks, tracks 3 and 4, to safe, so that will not record anything. So now I'll just rewind the tape, if I haven't done so already, start fresh, press record and play, and let the tape run for 10 to 15 seconds, so I get ahead of the start of the tape. Before I let the sound go in through the mixer and onto the actual recording heads and the tape itself. I will spare you the time of sitting through every track I'm recording in real time, so I've sped up some parts of the video where I actually record the different parts in its full length. And that was the end of the song, and I'm gonna stop the tape, rewind it, and set tracks 1 and 2 into safe mode so I won't accidentally record over them again. And that's done by pushing that lever from the red light over to a green light. And so to be able to hear what I've recorded, I have to set the channel 1 and 2 inputs from mic line over to tape. And now I can press play and listen back to what I've actually recorded, coming from the tape, track 1 and 2, drums on the track 1, and the synth on track 2. Before we continue, let's have a look at my sponsor for this video, Cloudbounce. Cloudbounce is your mastering tool that is available 24/7 wherever you go. You upload your audio file, and the Cloudbounce mastering engine analyzes it and applies just the right amount of various audio processing ingredients to make it sound powerful and crystal clear. This is made possible by new technology that employs machine listening, classification, and different audio processing tools, such as compressor, EQ, limiter, and stereo imaging. Various templates or custom mastering style adjustments are readily available within the user interface. Flexible pricing plans are suitable for every need. Pick either pay-as-you-go or save with a subscription plan. So check out Cloudbounce. I'll leave my affiliation link in the video description. So now you're hearing what's coming back from the tape. You're hearing the tape recorded sounds. So what I'm doing here is adjusting EQs, the levels for the track, and some auxiliary send, because I'm sending out the signal to a external reverb. The Yamaha Rev 7 is doing some of the reverbs here. I have one auxiliary send and I have one effect going. And this is everything without the DBX noise reduction system. And this is with DBX noise reduction. And the reason I'm adjusting everything here is because ultimately I have to bounce these over to a new track, so I have to mix as I go when working with Portastudios. If you want to record more than 4 tracks, I'm coming to that shortly. So now I'm going to record something on track 3, channel 3. And now I'm doing a pad from the Roland JX8P. So I'm setting up the levels for that, to record that on track number 3. So that will be recorded by hand onto track 3 in real time. So I make sure that track 1 and 2 is in safe mode, track 3 is in a direct mode, so I can record that, and I press record and play, and off I go in real time. And while I'm recording this is the time to talk about the bounce, because the bounce is a technical term, you know, if you've worked with Portastudios in the past. And that means that when I've recorded on track 1, 2, and 3, I only have 1 track left in the entire system. So if I want to record more than 4 tracks in total, I have to bounce what I've already recorded on track 1, 2, and 3 over to track number 4, already pre-mixed if you want to, so I can free up track 1, 2, and 3 for more overdubs. This is the limitations of working with a Portastudio. So here's where noise, hiss, etc. comes into play, because when I now dump track 1, 2, and 3 over to track number 4, I will also bring with me all quirks from what I've recorded so far. So now we will do the bounce. So what's happening here is I have to set up all my faders, EQs, levels, effects, etc. on track 1, 2, and 3, and put those in safe mode and enable track 4 for recording. So let's do that. Let's check that the levels, effects, EQs, etc. are how I want them to be. So how do I go about setting up the Tascam 424 for a bounce? Well, I put track 1 through 3 into safe mode, that's running from the tape, and track 4 will now not go into direct mode like I did before. Now it's going to listen to the right channel. So that means I have to set up channel 1, 2, and 3 panned all through to the right. So let's do that, which basically just means turning the pan knob fully over to the right. In the monitoring section of the Tascam 424, I also set the monitoring to be only on the right channel. And then I set the record function lever not to direct, but down, so it listens to the right channel. So the last thing I want to do now is adjust the master fader so I'm not clipping that right channel going into track number 4. But this is not a digital recording, so don't be obsessed with what you see on the meters here, because it's only your ears that can judge what's going in and out here. So if it sounds okay, if it sounds good, if it sounds the way you want it to sound, it doesn't matter what the meter actually says, because this is an analog recording 100%. So what sounds good is good. So to shorten this video length, I've now sped up so we're at the end of the recording, the bounce onto track number 4. So that should be everything from track 1 through 3, bounce down to track number 4. So let's put that in safe mode, rewind the tape, set the inputs of channel 4 into tape, and let's see what we've got. So that's everything we've done, bounced down to track number 4, and now I have 3 more tracks, tracks 1, 2, and 3 for overdubs. So now I'll record a bass on track 3. So I'm actually recording over that track 3 from before with this bass sound. There's no undos here, so what I'm doing, and there's no going back. But this is also the charm of recordings like this. You have to make creative decisions on the fly. You have to let your creativity guide the session in an organic way, and I love it. So that's the bass part recorded on track 3. And let's do one more track as well onto track number 2. And let's use the 6-track as a MIDI keyboard, and let's play a choir sound from the Casio FZ10M, which I have in the rack here. So that's going down onto track 2 right now. And so for the final mix down, I'm gonna add one more synth in stereo going into the stereo input that will not be recorded onto the Tascam, that will be recorded onto the final mix, which I'm doing now in the DAW. Back in the day, I would record that to a 2-track tape recorder. So I'm gonna play that stereo pad sound in real time, live, while I mix down everything to a 2-track. So that's happening now. I'm also mixing in some of the drums from track 1, which I have from before, to get some parallel drums going with some delays as well, as you can hear. So this will be the final pass, the final session. I've made this final mixdown available for download. Check the video description for that. And this is all coming from this tape with a bands and everything. And I don't think the sound quality is half bad actually. So if you're careful about your levels and EQ it, have some effects going, I think this sounds pretty nice. Organic, old school, just how I love it. Well, this has been a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Seriously, a lot of fun. Did I say it was fun? Okay. Because limitations force creativity, and how you have to bounce tracks to get more tracks going in the production, in the song. You have to make decisions fast to get the workflow happening, the momentum. So this brought back a lot of good memories and some bad memories as well, because there was at times decisions I made back in the day that I really regretted afterwards. So I won't say that everything was a dance on roses because you had one of these, but it was my first venture into multitracking, and I love it. Because of the length of this video, I've had to break this down into several segments actually. So in part 2, I'm going to show you how to sync this up to a sequencer on the left here, and some other cool stuff as well. And in part 3, I'm going to show you reel-to-reel multitrack recording. So you have a lot to look forward to in terms of old school tape recording. I can't wait to show you what else I got in store. So look out for that. As always, I'm Espen Kraft and I am the 80s. Thanks to all my Patreon supporters, thanks to Jack, thanks to the sponsor of this video, and stay tuned for more. Cheers!